Okay.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome back to day 2 of the Peak and Pivot Summit. Today is all about the pivot for the most part. We do have one scheduled change. We do have Rhonda Britton joining us this morning after a little bit of a scheduling snafu yesterday, but she confirmed to me yesterday she'll be good to go this morning. So she'll be joining us here in about a half an hour. But let's do, for those that are joining us here early, and then maybe we can share too, what was the biggest nugget from yesterday for you ladies? What was something that stood out from you throughout all the speakers that really kind of like, that's a, that's a.
Oh, me. I got one. All right. Actually, what I loved was Michelle Pearson Young's comment about structure loss. My talk today is going to all be about how to be heard above the noise, and it's like the things I've been teaching for a long time about how do you use public speaking and presentation skills to make a difference and to market yourself. But now it's about how do you do it now that the structure's all changed and everything's, and I just love the way she talked about things are different and it's about structure loss and you have to deal with that. And I really loved that phrase.
That's good. Juliet?
Very good. So mine, PJ, the app, I downloaded it and I'm going to be playing with it more today because I have all of that on spreadsheets. And so, I have to go back and look.
That's Penelope Jane Smith talking about cash flow, right?
Yeah. So I thought it was really cool that I could just open it up and put things in and keep track that way. So I really thought that was very amazing that she shared that app with us.
I thought Laura Posey's one-page goal planning was really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think a lot of people get too busy into planning huge annual goals and all this stuff, and they procrastinate on that because they think they've got to come up with a huge business plan. And I've always been a big like, hey, let's just write it down on one page. And I identified a lot with what she shared and how to come across, change it up, tweak it up, but really kind of limit yourself to 4 things for the most part. Because otherwise you're going to get oversaturated with trying to keep up with everything and not accomplish anything.
Well, what I loved about that especially was that the whole thing about, she did break things down into pieces and she made it all doable, but she started with the why. And that's the difference because, one thing I'm really good at is procrastinating. So I've looked at every single time management system and I never achieve all the things I want to achieve. So I follow time management people and I follow people who can help me with structure. And what was different was start with your why. Why does it matter? Focus on that first. And I tend to go, oh yeah, why? That's fine. Now let's get to what. And so I really loved that part.
Yeah, I actually brought her on to this because at the beginning of March, she gave me that program for my clients to, if I wanted to take a look at and share it with my clients. And when I went through it, I actually got through it about March 15th and I had to start all over again. So I thought, well, you know what, this would be really good for people because it's easy. Because I think a lot of people feel like they are starting from square one again. So I just love that it was easy. Like in a world where a lot of people are really overwhelmed, one page doesn't seem like it's going to overwhelm them to the point where they can't even think about it.
Right.
Yeah, that one page is easy enough to keep it visible in places too for you. So it's on your mind, whether it's laminated or it's just simply posted on, a sticky note on your computer or on your fridge or on your mirror or next to your bed, like the Jack Canfield way of doing things. It's easy enough to do it. And yeah, I think everybody has to pivot throughout the year without a pandemic kicking in some place. We all have things that happen. Yeah. So I would love to hear from those that have joined us already. Good morning, Laura Blunk. Good morning, Edward. Good morning, Flame. Good morning, John. Good morning, Patrice. And others that are watching on Facebook Live. I can see you out there this morning. Welcome. We welcome you to day 2 of the Peace and Pivot Summit. We're just kind of doing a quick little recap of some of the hot spots from the first day. So if you've got a tidbit or a nugget that you took from a speaker, we would love to hear it. Or if you're dealing with an issue and are looking for some way to help to pivot this with what's going on right now, feel free to share it in the comments and we'll try to get to it or comment on it as we go through the different summit speakers today. So while people are typing in, then one of you ladies want to go through the schedule a little bit beyond Rhonda this morning, who we have on.
I'd love to. So today is really about pivot and about what can you do that you already have materials for, and maybe you just need a new idea or something that you hadn't thought about before that would really kick up your business. So after Rhonda this morning, we're going to go into Leanne Marie Webster, and she's an expert on email and summits. She helps people throw big summits out there, teleconferences, as well as Zoom summits. And so she's going to be talking about, what are those virtual event secrets that we really need to know about? And for us, it'll be awesome because let's see if she knows what we know.
Yeah.
We're already in the midst of one. And then Elizabeth is going to be talking about crisis or opportunity and really how to take your presentation to the world in a way where you'll be heard. I love Elizabeth's presentation skills. She's helped a lot of my clients, so I think you guys will be really happy with some of the ideas she has. After that, it's me. I'm on.
Yay!
And I'll be talking about lead generation and qualification, because right now it's going to be really important to know who's ready to purchase, who maybe needs a little bit of nurturing, because right now it's not about clicks, it's about relationships right now. So if you're out there with one of those big funnels, it's time to think about what is a little tiny funnel that I can actually have conversations with people that may not be ready to buy today because people aren't spending money the way they were, but they might be your person that you've served throughout this crisis that becomes your client very shortly after that. And then after me is one of my very favorite people in the whole wide world, Tracy Hazard.
Yay.
And she's going to be talking about digital brand awareness and credibility. And, she's a former Inc. contributor. She owns the biggest production company in the world. So she knows about credibility and brand awareness. And then we are going to wrap up with one more speaker, which is Patrick Precourt. I don't know a lot about him. I'll let Scott talk about him in a minute. But to end up the day, we're going to have two people on that are going to talk about pivots they've made. And for those of you who stayed on last night and saw Ross Halleck, how many of you guys learned, I never knew that you did with the wine tasting? I was very impressed with his whole presentation of how he did that. But he's going to talk about a huge shift that he made that actually included his community. So he's got everybody in his realm making money with what he did. He just didn't go out and make his pivot all about himself. And then also Heather Rogers, who is a magician. So we've got a lot to learn from her. Scott, tell us a little bit about Patrick Precourt. I don't really know him, and I know he was somebody you brought in.
So Patrick is one of the most intense individuals that I know in a good way. I met him a few years back at another mastermind that I was a part of called Collective Genius. But Patrick comes from the real estate field. He's out of Connecticut, big part of one of the largest real estate training companies out there with Fortune Builders, which is run by Than Merrill from Flip This House. Maybe some of you guys have seen him on TV, but Patrick is the guy that handled all the coaches and helped build that into its almost big $1 million brand across the country. For the last couple of years, he's been out in his own with his own coaching, his own entrepreneurial improvement, his own real estate. I mean, he ran a big short sale negotiation company over 12 years ago through the first recession we saw in the last 2 decades. So a great individual. We've had him as a keynote speaker on our Note Camp conventions or in the past, and absolutely always gets 5 stars because he comes up with really taking the mindset out of what you're trying to do and really put it in actionable plans. And I think a lot of us really end up screwing ourselves in the mind because we overthink things, we get over analytical, and he kind of cuts straight to the bone. The fact that he runs an MMA gym in his hometown, also you can kind of feel that intensity coming through. So I actually verified with him this morning. He was checking in. Yeah, am I still on? I'm like, yes, you're still on. He's been dealing with a little bit of a pivot this week. His mother broke her hip this week, so he's been a little dealing with that. But I have to give the award for an original first name for the Peace and Pivot Summit, Flame. I love that.
I know. I was sitting there looking at that. That's awesome.
So Flame asked a question he missed yesterday. Is there any day to retrieve yesterday's information and sessions? For some reason, I was thinking today was the day. And that can be understandable, Flame. Usually Saturday and Sunday are normal for a weekend thing, but with tomorrow being Easter, we didn't want to run into Sunday. Even though you're not going anywhere, we didn't want to do this on Easter. But yes, the videos will be available. I've actually got them all downloaded on my screen. And as people are going through this morning, we'll be getting those uploaded. And then we'll provide the playlist out to everybody. I won't say by end of day today, probably by Monday for those that are RSVP'd. So
That's great. Yeah.
So they'll be ready to be able to go.
So Laura Blanc had a comment about yesterday too. I'm with Elizabeth. My superpower is procrastination. I like the focus on the why and the short and sweet outline. But I also like Dom's response to Elizabeth being concerned about being okay with what you've decided to do because it's your decision. Yeah, that was really interesting, the way Dom does that, because Dom's really like kind of black and white with it, like decide or don't decide. And if you don't decide, it's still a decision, and you need to acknowledge that.
There you go. Exactly. And Julia,
somebody who lives in the gray area, I always find it's like a little, you mean I really have to decide? This is why I work with Juliet, because Juliet I say, Juliet, please deliver a Swift kit where I will feel it when I need to. This is one of the things that Juliet does for me. It's like, hello, every once in a while. So
working with me is like being in the military. I'm kind of a drill sergeant.
Well, we all need that.
There are those of us who need that. Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I thought I've introduced you to Patrick before. I know I sent an email. I did an email introduction to Jason Medley, who's his partner at Collective Genius before. That's where it was. He's just recently.
Oh, okay. All right. So now you have an assignment.
Done.
Thank you. Oh, so what else are we going to talk about? So today, Rhonda's coming on. Rhonda is Oprah Winfrey's life coach. Like, how cool is that, Scott? And you interviewed her on your podcast.
I've known Oprah for years. I'm not Oprah, sorry.
Oprah?
I've known Rhonda for
really?
years.
And I'm going to put in here, why haven't you introduced me to her?
Because she's a little quiet. I've known Rhonda for going on about 7 or 8 years now. I originally met an event out in California called Secret Knock, and we spoke. I was a sponsor out there. We spoke. Just absolutely energy. She's a fellow. She's originally from Minnesota, so we have that in common a little bit. But absolutely, just love her energy. She's got an amazing story. I don't know if she'll get into it today about how she gets started, but just an energetic thing. She's got a great podcast. She does a lot of live streams, and we've had her keynote, a life coach on a real estate event before for us, and she just absolutely killed it. So you'll love her energy. Yes, you should be meeting her and talking with her after this as well too. So sometimes it's not just about an email, but it's that face-to-face aspect that works out really well. So you'll have the opportunity today for that.
Another thing that's great is that it was the fates that managed it. That we were going to have all the people who were helping with our spiritual thoughts and our mental game yesterday, and the fact that Rhonda's talking about the mental game today to start us off on the day when we're talking about pivoting is that's great. I'm thrilled. I think it's perfect. Thank you, universe. However that happened, very glad to have Rhonda kicking us off in terms of where we are and what we're doing and all of that. So yes.
Yeah, and she's an Emmy Award winner. She's been on thousands of episodes of television, and she was on a repeat guest as Oprah's life coach to a lot of clients out there. And you'll love her energy, and she's the head of the Fearless Living Institute, overcoming, because I think that so many people right now are living in fear, don't know where to turn. They've got options, but they really can't cut through the things. So ending up with Dawn, having Laura yesterday kind of feeds well into, okay, now you've done that. Now let's get beyond the fear. Let's get beyond let me put a size 12 14 boot up your butt to get you moving off of center so that you're doing it. Because I think so many times we fall into our comfort zones and get trapped in here. And everybody goes through this at some point. I mean, I know I've had conversations with so many entrepreneurs over the last 6 months too. You know, what are we doing? Where are we going? How's life changing? You know, so I think it'll be very relevant this morning. If anything, you'll just absolutely love her energy, which is a beautiful thing.
Great, great. I'm curious about more of our attendees. What got you interested? What made you say, okay, I'm gonna check this one out, spend my Saturday doing that?
Yeah, Bruce, Ed, John, Laura, Linda, Flame, Patrice, Robert. See if I can see who else is online here watching us on the Zoom call here.
By the way, everybody yesterday said they showed up for Merrill, so you can't use that one. He's not here today.
Merrill's definitely. That's why I was like, Merrill, we might want to go. We got a few minutes extra. Let's go and get you on there because Merrill will feed into a lot of stuff there. Definitely energetic.
The rest of us are chopped liver, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly. So let's talk about here, Juliet, Elizabeth. What's a thing that you have done to pivot here over the last month or 3 months or whatever? What's one thing that you've really focused on with your pivot in your businesses?
One thing that I've been doing is really helping my clients. I have a lot of corporate clients who are suddenly saying, "Oh, my paycheck's threatened." And I have a lot of people who are clients who are hired as contractors, and a lot of the companies are just the first thing they do to cut costs is to fire all the contractors. That's me. I'm a contractor too. So I've been not so much making it new as what are the new needs? What do people need? Because rule number one is always about what do they need? Well, actually, rule number one is what do they want? You give them what they want. They may not know what they need. So you give them what they want, get them to start working with you. And then once they're working with you, you can give them what they actually need. But what do they want? And then knowing what they want, how can I adapt what I already know to provide that? Or are there pieces of what I already know that I totally take for granted because I've been doing that, it's easy for me, that I realize, oh, not everybody knows that. So maybe there's a way I can share this. And this is where it really helps also to have people that you partner with, you can go back and forth with who say, well, there's this other thing you do. And you go, that's easy. And yeah, but not for everybody else. So sometimes it's hard to see from the inside. So having a partner and having people to bounce things off of is a great way to do it.
When you mentioned corporate clients, can you dive a little bit more into that? Kind of what kind of work aspect?
About half what I do is working with entrepreneurs. And the other half of what I do is working with corporate clients, mostly women, not exclusively, but mostly women who are not being heard. And I finally figured out the other day, somebody said, so what's the overarching theme of what you do? And I say, well, I help people be heard. And I went, oh, hello. That actually, especially people who are not being heard. I do a lot of work in the diversity space with women and minorities, especially women, because the mistakes that women make, I've made them all. So I know intimately inside how to make all those mistakes because I've made them. So I work it just seems to be women who show up at my doorstep. So it's how do you go back to basics? What can you do? What used to work? And what can you go back to basics and do? So there's a secret to how to be heard, which I'll tell you to tune in when I do it, but there's a secret that may not be the answer you think it is.
Cool. Juliet?
So I love that, what she was saying, sell them what they want and give them what they need. Because a lot of times when I copyright what they need, they don't want to hear about. So that's great. That's really great, Elizabeth. So one of the pivots we've made is in the past, I've had a pretty robust group program. And I switched at the beginning of the year. I'm phasing out that group program and going into just building the high level quizzes, the lead generating quizzes. And so since I started doing that, I'm getting more corporate gigs, people that want them for their corporate talks. And I have so much more free time because they're more consulting gigs than they are, intensive group sessions. So I'm really enjoying that and that pivot, because as I sort of phase out and want to travel more, even though I can't travel right now, that's kind of a long-term goal. And it makes my business more destination centric, even though it has been. I've been online since 2010. So, I have the ability to work from anywhere, but this is sort of a consolidated ability to work from anywhere because it's project-based.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually working, normally I would be calling in from Europe at this point. So I spend every other quarter at my home in Austria working with my European clients. So being the digital nomad, the more you can do it online, the better. So that's that shift for me has been fairly easy. Actually, the big shift is being in one place for more than 2 weeks at a time. That's I've been in this room for much longer than I normally am.
Let's see, we've got a few ideas here. Patrice says, I'm a real estate investor, property management. Would you toss out a few ideas to consider a new pivot in this area of property management, Patrice? Okay. I was going to ask you what you've done to communicate with your clients on that stuff. Are you in short-term or long-term rentals? I would definitely, be reaching out. One of the things I think would be really helpful is talking with your tenants. If you're in property management, what are they dealing? Are they working? Are they not working? And then maybe setting up some sort of, hey, here's who's hiring in the area. Here's the different programs that are available. Not just the emergency stuff that we've seen, but there's a lot of communities, a lot of money given to different parts of the country and cities to help with, work, talking with the food pantries, things like that. That would be kind of a thing I think would be helpful to your clients at that as well. Also, too, it may be something, I think it'd be a good time to reach out to people that are remote property owners, people that live in a different part of the country that have real estate or rentals in your area, and offering up their services for drive-bys, for management, things like that. That's something to do, because that's often, in times of crisis, that was one of the biggest things that we saw over 12 years ago, was the out-of-town landlords struggled because they weren't there. They're trying to do it all themselves. So that would be one pivot I would recommend for you. That, Patrice, definitely that route.
Yeah. I would actually even go back to your existing landlords that you have and touch base with the tenants, so you can kind of update the landlords on what's going on, especially if they're out of town. Are we expecting that, somebody's not going to be able to pay rent? Are we, because, that kind of puts expectations out there for everyone, because those landlords are the ones that are going to be in a little bit of trouble down the line. And we've got forbearance right now, but it's temporary, and it doesn't necessarily mean that in 90 days those amounts won't be due. So I think really serving who you already have existing on a very high level would be really, really helpful.
Hey, Patrice,
Absolutely.
what part of the country again are you in? What part of the U.S.? And Elizabeth, you were going to throw something there. My apology. I just wanted to.
No, I'm just saying, yes, absolutely, agreeing.
I think one of the big things too, I've seen this and had a couple of my friends do this, where they've had Airbnbs that were vacant or canceled. They went out to the nearest hospitals, the nearest emergency clinics, to the doctors. They offered up, they reached out to the police departments that may have had force and said, listen, we've got some of the stuff. We've got some available rooms. If you want to come in, and we're glad to drop the price down. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw that article where there was a nurse who got evicted from her house, the room that she was rented, because she was working with a COVID plant. So she showed up after a shift, and there's police waiting there for her to evict her immediately, even though she was paying. That the rest of the roommates were worried about her infecting them. She got infected and came home.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can kind of see both sides of that,
Yeah, exactly. There's both sides to it, but it's still, The article said that the nurse, that they'd had some heated conversations that they were worried about what was going on, which I understand that. So yeah, if you're in Dallas, obviously a major area, Patrice there, plenty of medical, plenty of police officers, things like that. That's what I would possibly do, is just reach out to the local clinics, local doctors, any medical, personnel. They're coming, first responders, to help out with that is a great way to do that too. And then, if you donate some of the stuff, I think there are some ways to be able to write that off if you donate some of your nights. If you've got some open stuff, it's furnished, maybe write that off if you donate it to what's going on.
It's an in-kind donation.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing a free training for a company, that's an in-kind donation, and you can donate what you would I think, according to my accountant, you can donate what you would normally have charged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I also know other people that have Airbnbs that are no longer doing seasonal. They're going straight up to the month-to-month aspect of things while time is going on, or people that are rehabbing property to turn into rentals or that stuff have turned around and said, let's take it down a notch in what we're rehabbing. Let's not put the granite in, let's put the Formica in. Instead of the ceramic tile flooring, let's put the laminate in to save on costs, because there's a lot of price reductions going on across the country. And so I think everybody's got to realize that you've got to take it back. You've got to kind of roll back what you've been offering to make it a little bit more affordable in some cases. And I'm not saying on everything. Your coaching or other products like that, things like that, we're still offering normal price on that, but some of the intro stuff is what we've rolled back on.
I have a friend who was the project manager for a high-end condo building in Seattle that was due to open in January 2009. And so the crash of 2008 caught them. They couldn't do anything, and the company closed. But the one thing they could still pay for was maintenance. And so my friend, the project manager, she said every drawer pull and every color here is something I chose. It was her building, but she wound up making a living mopping the floors. That was the one thing they could pay for. So, okay. She went over and she mopped floors.
Yeah, there's all sorts of different things people needing to make money off of. Obviously, Uber drivers, Amazon, you've got your retail stores that are hiring, stuff like that. But I think, those that don't want to get out in the communities, there's an opportunity to be that kind of catered personal shopper. I would see this coming back in where people are like, hey, I don't want to go out, but I can go pick up the groceries. We were looking at some of the things here for that online ordering with the grocery stores to pick up, and all the slots are full. So I think that would be something, hey, if you need to pivot, reaching out to your community members, reaching out to your tenants. Hey, if you need to, we'll run with it. Here's a great pivot we've just seen recently in some of the movie theaters here locally. We have a couple independent owned chains. One's Alamo Draft House is a place that we love going to because we can go at night and have a beer, drink, and a full menu while we're eating, watching the movie. Steph and I usually go 2 to 3 times a week there because we just love movies. And we're like, we're really craving Alamo. Well, Alamo has turned out and doing, okay, come in and pick up the meal kits. If you want our burger or our pizzas, we put those together in kits now that you can purchase, along with some of the movies on DVDs and things like that you can take. I've seen another movie theater here locally who's now offering live streaming. You can download the upcoming movies via their platform, be able to live stream them. And all the proceeds are going to the employees that have been laid off or been on forbear. So there's a variety of different ways. There's a guy here in Austin. This is a beautiful thing, absolutely beautiful. He is a baker. He is baking like 60 loaves of bread each day and a bunch of cookies, and then just giving them away.
Yep.
He doesn't disclose his address, but he's in South Austin. If you need bread, because that was a shortage here for a little while, you can come by and grab 1 or 2 loaves, totally free, no charge. He has it out on the edge so you can come out and drop it off for you, so you can swing by, pick it up. But his goal is to give away like 6,000 loaves of bread here in the next month. And look at that, right on time.
Yes, he is.
Hang on. We're gonna have a drum roll there. Hang on.
Actually 2 minutes early, just to point
You are
out.
early. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good stuff there. Good stuff there. Awesome. All right. Well, give me 1 second.